Not being able to speak is not the same as not speaking. You seem as if you like to talk. I like to let people talk who like to talk. It makes it easier to find out how full of shit they are.
What the hell did you just say?
You are the new student. Come closer.
You're listening to the Kung Fu Podcast presented by James Still.
Anybody who has some knowledge of Kung Fu can easily defeat you.
And Steve Newby.
Man, you come right out of a comic book.
If you flash him, even for an instant, a defiant eye, he'll pluck it out. And if you throw any American sass his way, he'll snap your back and your neck like they were twigs.
162 now, how's that?
Can you just talk?
Hello? Is it me you're looking for? What do you think of that?
Well.
Self-destruct sequence activated.
Oh no.
Self-destruct sequence activated. Self-destruct sequence activated.
Stop what you've done. Stop what you've done. Stop what you've done. You activated the self. This is you and technology, you see. It's that bad. That's all right. That's actually quite good. Right. Are we good to go? Or do you want to brief in before we go?
Give me a briefing if you want. Yeah, it'd be nice to have a briefing for a change.
I was only joking. Of course, there's no briefings. But like,
oh, right.
What do you think this is? Honestly, a professional? Right, guys. Okay, welcome to another episode of the Kung Fu Podcast with me, James Still, and as ever, my teacher, Mr. Steve Newby, live from Canada. How you doing, Steve? You all right?
Yeah, good. Yeah, beautiful day today. I might be going out in the canoe at some point in time this week.
Well, watch out, everybody. He's out. He's on. He's seafaring again. You know, that reminds me. You know, it occurred to me the other day. We're like, you know, a barnacle on the hull of the good ship Kung Fu. That's pretty much our podcast. That's us, isn't it? In a nutshell, you know. Yeah. But well, we've got a few topics we want to discuss today. We're going to get a bit. I don't know, should we get bitchy again? Should we get bitchy?
There's no harm in getting a bit bitchy. I don't mind getting bitchy. No one else is going to do it, so...
That's true. We got some stuff we want to talk about. But before we do get, you know, bitchy, it's worth saying we might be having a guest on the podcast. Is this right? And we're not going to say who, but we might be
we've been looking... we've been looking for, you know, people who might want to participate, promote people, and hopefully make, you know, some... sense of what is martial arts today, and I think we've found a good friend of mine, you know, one of Lau Gar's top people. Can I say that?
You can say that, but you can't say anything else, just in case it doesn't happen. You never know.
Well, I've spoken to him at length, and we've briefed him and everything.
Oh, okay. Does he know?
We're going to be really good on the day. We're not going to bitch.
Oh,
I'm not going to do anything. We're going to let him do all the bitching. He's going to do all the talking.
Well, if you know, no one's as bitchy as us, apart from a bus full of drag queens. But you know, oh well. So right, we should. So that's good news. That's good news. We might be getting a guest on. Second bit of news, right? And this is where we'll start off. Now, you remember a couple of weeks back, we did these reaction videos, right? And now, it has come to my attention through my tireless scouting of Facebook and certain social media sites that we have provoked a bit of a reaction. Now,
oh, you always will with these things.
You do, but however, what I thought was very interesting was the reaction by the person we did the reaction video about. His instructor. Now I'm not going to say who because there's no. I'm not.
Wait a minute. What do you mean his instructor?
Oh, sorry. Excuse me. One of his instructors, the latest instructor, the current incarnation. So it's a bit like Doctor Who, you know. As one dies, you get another one. And another one. You know, I think we're on.
Another one bites the dust.
Are we on John?
Another one bites the dust.
But, however, listen, we can laugh, but it's actually a bit of a serious thing, right? And I'm going to.
It's serious to people, but it's not serious to me. You know,
No.
at the end of the day, just.
No. Okay, all right, but I want to hear your opinions on this, because we've got a bit of a serious. Now, it's a bit of a rant on Facebook by this instructor bloke.
Is it on his site?
It's on his site. Okay.
Well, it's
no.
Okay, sorry.
Let me just go on. Now, what it is it's because we don't know whether it's in relation to us doing these videos that he's sparked up in defence of his current student or whatever, whatever, you know. But I'm going to read it out to you. So here we go. Sorry, I had to burp then.
Jesus.
What?
Yeah, ever the professional,
Right,
James.
okay, yeah, I know.
Ever the professional.
Hey, of course. Okay, right, serious time. Okay, so I want your reaction to this statement. Okay, it's common knowledge that I don't like bullies in the martial arts, in life, or social media. When people go on about standards and muck dojos in the arts, my first thought is people in glass houses, etc. They are usually the people who should be putting their own house in order! ! We may not like what some people teach, but if they're not breaking any laws, we don't have the right to bully, slander, or libel them. What we need to do is everything in our power to raise the standards of the arts generally in whatever area we train and teach in, and continually encourage others to improve and point to what is good. All the time we point at others in a negative way, we only demonstrate our own failings. And the last bit was, if we work together instead of against each other and share our knowledge and systems, it can only be for good. Martial arts have a lot to offer the public. But when they see senior people arguing like children in a school playground, and those that teach anti-bullying pointing, laughing and ridiculing others, it really puts us all in a bad light. Now, that was the post. Now, it's unconfirmed whether that was in relation to what we've done, but it's interesting timing, so I put it to a coincidence. But even if it's not, it's worth just talking about your thoughts on that, given that we've done these reaction videos. Go for it.
Oh, right, okay. So we have done reaction videos, that's true. First, I mean, shall I assume that it is about us or me bullying somebody? Or should I just say in general it could be about someone bullying? Don't know. Anyway, don't care. Okay, first of all, I absolutely love what he said. Okay, I think it's really commendable what he has said.
Yeah.
The only problem is this. First of all, so the person that I have, and of course we don't know it's about us, so we just have to assume. Yeah. So the person that I have done a reaction video to was a student of mine. Okay, so I have a relationship with the student, or did have a relationship with the student, who was quite a difficult student, and without going into any history, basically he's gone. Okay, so got rid of him, and a lot of bad blood kind of thing going on, and we've probably heard podcasts from before about the situation I was put in by people like him. But that's, you know, water under the bridge and so on. But what it gives me is a qualification to talk about this individual. It also gives me a qualification. What he's doing, what he's teaching, is my qualification to be able to judge it, in the sense that, first of all, I taught it to him.
Yeah.
And secondly, he didn't really listen, because he's the only individual ever to have failed a black sash under me, and he never took a black sash after that, and he's not a black sash, but he professes to be a black sash and teaches that style. So therefore that was the criteria why I actually did these reaction videos to him.
Yeah.
And I continue to watch him doing these things.
Yeah.
Now, I have to ask people like that when they say wonderful things, am I bullying, right? Or am I defending the faith?
Right.
In effect.
Okay.
So in other words, if I'm bullying someone, or if I'm protecting the people that have been had the wool pulled over their eyes, so that they believe that he has some kind of quality. Now, from where this guy is coming from, and no names or anything, I don't know his name. I'm just going from what you have said, and I know that you don't like to give me any names because I'll only name them.
Well, we've had this before.
Yeah, and I don't give a toss because I call a spade a spade.
Yeah.
And if the guy wants to say something, then it's absolutely up to him. And I would absolutely love to discuss it with him, because the one thing I think people have to say when they see me doing a reaction video is, well, okay, so what's your qualification to do it? Well, I've just given you my qualification. And what's your story about it? What's your take on the situation that brought you to that conclusion?
Yeah.
And so if anyone's got any gorm, they would, give me a call or email you or email the site and say, okay, so you've been saying this about this guy. I just need to know where you're coming from, because obviously he's now teaching for me, or he's training with me, and I'd like to think that we're free to do what we want. And of course everybody's free to do what they want, everybody. But the problem is, I like genuine martial arts. I don't like bullshit martial arts. I don't like people making their own style up. I don't like people jumping from one style in order to just profit from another. I don't like people who turn around and charge thousands of pounds in order to do a course, when you look at the quality of that course on Facebook. And let's face it, if you're going to put stuff on YouTube, you better be damn decent, or at least have the knowledge. I understand if you're old and grey like me, and you don't have the prowess that you might have had when you were in your 20s, and you may not be capable of throwing yourself around in the same way. Forget it. Just, you've got a brain, you've got intelligence, you've got knowledge, and if you profess to have knowledge in martial arts and you have a quality of martial arts, show it.
The problem,
show it on a video.
Yeah. The problem you've got with a couple of points. Okay, so the problem you've got, you see a lot of people like this person who's, and I'll talk a bit about him because we're not mentioning names. It could be anybody, couldn't it? Eh? Now, problem you've got is when you're doing these reaction videos, you look like you're having fun, all right? But right? But we're not serious. But hey, looks are important, I guess. And secondly, the person who's made this statement, unfortunately, Steve, I mean, I hate to say it, yes, he's a very prominent figure in UK-based martial arts, but first and foremost, he runs a big martial art business. He runs his own governing body. Okay, he encourages people to, and he's done this martial art where he's an 8th dan, he's done this martial art where he's a 1st dan in this, jiu-jitsu, blah blah blah. Okay, so he's one of these people who throughout the years has studied a certain way. Now, the problem you've got with it is then he'll sort of turn around and start marketing kung fu. Okay, now, all right, you can get into a semantical debate about kung fu meaning, well, it just means hard work, But let's face it, if you're marketing kung fu, but you've studied karate for your formative years, okay, that's what but you're calling it kung fu. People expect it to be kung fu, but then
but the trouble is, the trouble is the general public doesn't know the difference.
No, they
and
don't.
They join thinking they're doing kung fu, and in actual fact they're doing something that has been put together. I mean, what is he suggesting? That if I gave people, because this guy was obviously a student of mine, so that I'm bullying, if I give people the opportunities and the freedom to make their own decisions, and trust them to lead by example.
Yeah.
And then suddenly, and I encourage them to think. Encourage them to think for themselves, if you like, and then they conspire through greed or envy, or both, and betray the very trust that you give them. You know, I've got to lose my, well, shall we say, integrity, as I know you've discussed that with me.
Yeah.
So is that what people like that are suggesting, that I'm kind of got no, you know, if you like, well, that I'm a bully, basically. I'm bullying this individual.
Yeah.
No, I'm not bullying him. I'm simply warning people. And have I got a right to warn people?
Well,
yeah,
of course.
It's
because we've said
that's
it
the
before.
simple answer.
We've said it before. Yeah. If this was like Watchdog or Rogue Traders, you'd want these bad, you know, plumbers and builders to be called out. Yeah. Now, you know, the problem with martial arts, though, you like, I'm sure you know, it's a very sort of relative thing, isn't it? Like, one person's martial art might be, you know, teaching Tai Chi to a group of OAPs for health and relaxation, whereas another person's martial art might be, you know, in a frigging octagon battering the crap out of each other. So it's all relative. Now, so this is where the argument but just let him do his own thing. It's like, well, no, because he is blatantly ripping off a syllabus that he has been taught, laid out by the BKFA, you know, and blatantly ripping off, you know, your
and teaching it badly.
Yes,
totally. when he's teaching it badly and expects that he's not going to get any kind of complaints. Well, in effect, it's a complaint. I want to tell you a story, James. I hope that we don't want to bore the listeners talking about this. Come on, both of them. Yeah, both of them will be in bed before the end of this. So in the 80s, I guess it was the 80s.
Yeah.
I had clubs in Telford, and suddenly there appeared a guy, and I am going to name him because it's all been proven. So if you don't mind, I am going to name the guy. His name's Kenny Chan. Chinese guy.
Kenny Chan?
Yeah.
Right.
Chinese guy.
Yeah.
In the 80s.
Yeah.
And he's teaching what he professed to be Wing Chun.
Right.
And he was a Chinese guy, so in those days, well, you know, you turn up as a Chinese guy in a leisure centre teaching Kung Fu. That's it. You're the real deal. Doesn't matter who you are. Doesn't matter what you know. Yeah, and I just wanted to see what he looked like. Okay, I just wanted to see what he did. Yeah. And I just wanted to go. One of my students went, and he was a white sash, right?
Yeah.
So he'd done a few weeks training, and he took his white sash with us. And he decided to go to see this guy, and he went into the club, and the guy said, "Oh, you're an expert. You don't need for you to train. No need for you to come here." And so he didn't want him to train, right? And we kind of, you know, the guy thought, what's wrong with him, you know? Okay. Anyway, I thought, well, I'd love to go and see what he does, because obviously I'm teaching Kung Fu, and I want to see what he does as far as Kung Fu. You always love to see the competition, and you love to meet people and say hello and share with people and so on. And often, of course, you can look at them and go, you know what, you know, nothing. Okay, but that doesn't mean to say you have to insult them. It doesn't mean to say that you have to do anything about it. You know, if you was to do that, you'd be forever, all your life, you know, talking about various people who are just crap and trying to give, you know, there's always going to be good people, there's always going to be bad people. I accept that. But this Jackie Chan, I was going to say,
no,
yeah,
you can't say that. You can't say that. This is 2020. You can't say that. Go on.
Yeah. Okay. Anyway, Kenny, in his wisdom, we went to his hall. There was a guy in a black sash standing outside, and we went up, and there was about three of us. Okay, I went with a girl I was training with and another guy. Yeah. And the guy went up to this kid, and he says, "Oh, what's going on?" You know, this guy, black sash, standing outside. He says, "Oh, what are you doing? Can't we go in and have a look or whatever?" And he went, "Oh no, he doesn't want." He says, "I don't know what's wrong with him. He's useless." And that was his black sash talking. Right? He says, "Oh, I don't know." And anyway, but the point is, if you imagine a church hall, all the curtains closed, and to look through the hallway, to look into the hall, you couldn't see him because he was up one side teaching people to avoid any people seeing him.
Yeah.
Okay. And the only place he couldn't do that was the racket centre in Telford.
Okay.
Where you could actually look through, because it was actually a squash court. Okay, so you'd see him doing his thing, and I got to see him do his thing anyway. Anyway, we were parked in the car park at one stage, wanted to go to see him. This was at the time I've just mentioned.
Yeah.
And he saw us, and he came over to us, and he says, hello, and all that kind of thing. And he was sweating, and he was shaking, and he was taking his watch off and putting it back on, taking his watch off, putting it back on. He was
thinking there's going to be a rock or something.
Yeah, I think so. And I just says to him, what's the matter? What's wrong? Why do you don't want people to see? Oh yeah, you're a master. You don't need to see this, and all that kind of thing. And fair enough. No, I wasn't a master, and I was a very naughty boy. And it's just that. Anyway, he kind of went off, and then of course my student went over to the guy that was at the door and says, what's the matter with him? And anyway, to cut a long story short, he was selling everything from the uniform to the socks to the trainers, those kung fu shoes, everything. The first grade was black sash, and they trained with him for 3 months. They trained with him for 3 months, and then he went off and started another club. And all he did was turn up to take the money at each club. And this was in just one town, Telford, in Shropshire. And he had 27 clubs in that town.
Jesus
right?
Christ.
And every single night, basically, these people would teach for him. He would go take the money, show a couple of moves, and then disappear. Right? Now, all the time, we got to see him eventually in the racket centre because of the glass. And we saw him kind of do the hokey cokey forwards and then backwards and then take the money, and he was gone within 10 minutes of being in the class. Okay, take the subs, and then he'd go. Right? And he had even a 14-year-old girl as a black sash teaching the class. She hadn't got a clue. Okay, everybody's there because the Chinese guy master was running that organization. Okay, he ended up on a program with Esther Ranson. Okay, do you remember the program Esther Ranson?
Yeah, it was. What was it? God, no. Scylla was surprise. Esther Ranson.
No, Esther Ranson was.
I know.
It was about
Esther Ranson.
surprise.
No, that was Scylla.
I know it was.
Esther Ranson did that sort of like. Oh, I can't remember what it's called now.
Yeah, basically they were picking on the con men. They was catching all the con men and sticking it on film. What's wrong with just making a point of saying it? Okay, so they went out, they put people, con men, and this guy ended up 3 months in prison for fraud. Okay, and that was basically it. Now the whole point is, when you experience people like that, you're very wary when you go to clubs. You are always friendly and you're always you love to see other martial arts. And you know what? I don't want to travel anymore. I don't want to be seeing, people I don't have to travel. I can look on YouTube. You look on YouTube, you see people. You know what their quality is. Now, when they turn around, I mean, I do understand. Did you say you had something about integrity?
Yeah, I think so. Hang on. So integrity, right? So I was meant to say, there was another part to this. There was another post that was written. Okay, do you want to hear it?
Yeah, go.
Okay, so I'll read some selected stuff. Okay, integrity means that you are only as strong as your weakest point. You can have integrity in your character, your training system, and your club or association. Doesn't matter how good you are in other areas, your weakest point will be the thing that lets you down. Okay. Integrity also means you don't have to be one thing or another. You can be all of them if you understand an idea. You don't have to sell your soul in the martial arts to have a successful club or business. You only have to have integrity in your character, your training, your system, and your club structure. Okay, and this one I thought was interesting. Okay, you can fool all the people some of the time, but not all the time. If you leave it to others to look after an area for you and don't oversee and manage it yourself, don't be surprised when they let you down. If you don't care, they won't. Okay, now it's the problem is we don't know if it's about you, okay, in relation to the person we did the reaction videos.
Yeah.
But it's interesting that these two posts come out around about the same time now, and it's also interesting that the point he made in his rant there about letting people get on with their own thing and don't be surprised if they let you down is probably the kind of thing that this person would say, that you did, or he didn't care for me, or he just let me get on with it. So what would you say?
Yeah. Well, I did say what he's suggesting, previously, because you did tell me about that, in an earlier chat.
Yeah.
And so I did give you that answer about, suggest what is he suggesting? If I give them, an opportunity to make their own decisions and so on, encourage them to do their own thing, am I letting them down in doing that? So, but I want to chat about this word integrity, okay?
Yeah.
Because it seems to me that the gentleman might have a slightly different take on integrity.
Well,
because I mean, okay, look, if I had no integrity, I'd build an association built on total bullshit ability, if you like, and zero genuine technical knowledge. I'd charge an arm and a leg for it, and then I'd complain when people with compassion for enthusiasts who have the ability to see through the bullshit they sprout, if I comment on that bullshit, then if there is any doubt in my assessment about that kind of bullshit and about that kind of individual who may well say, I have no integrity. Now, I want to emphasise that I have nothing against this individual.
No.
Only that he is misguided if he is talking about me.
Yeah.
Okay. And I got no problem with people talking about me. That's why we're on a podcast.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah. But the thing is, right, that if anyone's got any, if he listens to two sides of a story as opposed to one, let's just imagine that he's taken on a student that I've just, got rid of.
Yeah.
And that student obviously will complain and give his own side of the story. And they did this and they did the other and they did the other. What that student wouldn't say is what he actually did to deserve what he got.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now I can gladly, but I'm not going to put it on a podcast. I'm not going to, sort of put my dirty washing out. I'm just simply stating a fact about this kind of individual that does martial arts. But if he wants to, if he is interested in this, and he has, and it's actually me he's talking about, then absolutely give me a call. Just contact me. Maybe send an email and say, okay, so what happened to make you, diss this guy? Well, apart from the fact that I know that he's destroying my martial arts, that he's taking apart my kung fu style when he isn't qualified to do it, that's the one thing. But the other thing is he did a lot of things that were personal damage to me.
Yeah.
So, if anybody had any integrity in martial arts, okay, basically they would not necessarily support a fellow tutor or a fellow teacher or coach or whatever you want to call it, but they would at least inquire as to why they're voicing their anger at being betrayed by a student.
Yeah, sure.
Okay, that'd be a good example of integrity.
Yeah.
But I guess taking another course fee is more important than building a unity of martial arts.
There is that,
So.
Yeah. But you can't begrudge people from wanting to, get food on the plate, But
no, I do not disagree with anyone trying to make money.
Yeah.
What I do not like, for a decent product. Now, if I had a plumber, if I had a plumber and he came to my house and he said he was the bee's knees in plumbing and he could do the best job, and I let him play with my gas, right, and then I had an explosion. I'd want to know why, but I'd also want to question his qualifications. And when you turn around and you say, yeah, but I'm a great plumber, and it doesn't matter what other people think, I'm a great plumber, I learned it from Bob down the road, and he says he was a great plumber, so that makes me a great plumber. Unfortunately, it's what comes out, you know, what's at face value, what you see on YouTube, and what you see. And you see, now I don't care how good an individual is like that, how good he thinks he is. What I care about is how he can make those students good or make them believe something that just isn't true. Now, when you watch someone doing martial arts, and you either know they're going to be really good and they've got a good basis. Now, I don't mean beginners or anything like that. I'm talking instructors. I'm talking people who are teaching courses. I'm talking about people I see on YouTube that are teaching people that come from other martial arts, and then try to convince them that they should be doing this with a, like, I mean, I watched one, and I'm not going to associate it with anybody. I'm just going to, you know, maybe other people might associate it if they look at these YouTube videos. I saw this, and the same guy that I've been dissing was at this course. Okay, my student. I have to emphasize that. I hate having to say it, but he was my student. Okay, so I know how much kung fu he knows. And so I watch him doing a course with a stick, and I see what he's trying to do with his stick, and I know damn well that it has absolutely no logical sense, no scientific application in any shape or form. And then, worse than that, they then try to interpret it into using a spear, for God's sake. And it's like one of the best weapons, and you can't even roll it. You can't even roll it. And I watch a teacher showing someone, and the student is holding the spear in a better position and a better way than the actual instructor. Now, I don't begrudge that instructor. I'm not trying to, you know, diss everybody. All I'm trying to say is, look, I am so sad that instructor has never had the opportunity to actually see what genuine martial arts, how they actually could be training that weapon, how they possibly could understand the logic to that weapon. But when they did those things, and I don't care whether you say that you're teaching, oh yeah, but it's teaching beginners, or you're teaching, you know, senior people. It doesn't matter if the technique's useless and it has no quality. I mean, basically they're putting a stick on top of the other guy's stick, and the other guy's hand was in the middle of their two hands, holding his stick. Now, any logical individual would have a stick at a long range and would use the end to smack that guy's fingers. Then they lose the stick. It's as simple as that.
Yeah, but
so,
but it's the way they do things. But that's perhaps the way they do things. That's what people will say.
They will say that, and all I'm going to say is that's not the way science does things. Okay. I do understand that a lot of people have faith in various religions.
Well, we could argue the same thing about you and me.
Yeah. And we have faith, but we have proof. Okay? We have logical assumptions that can be backed up by evidence. Okay? Now, I'm yet to find anyone in any faith-based interest, and I'm not just talking about religion, who has a scientific backed base for their assumptions. Now, when you watch YouTube and you see these things, the first thing I do is I look at the logical base to what they're assuming they're doing. And when I cannot see it, I openly invite people like that to explain what they're doing. Because if you can explain it to me, then I will shut up and God, I will pay for all your students to train with you.
But here's a point for you. Do you think because you are biased, so am I, but do you think that bias clouds our sort of, you know, when we read things, we think, well, obviously, you know, they're wrong. You know, maybe we're not in full possession of the facts, but, you know, but do you see what I'm saying? You know, what do you think?
I absolutely agree with you. Of course we're biased, and we're going to look at things in one perspective and say, no, that's wrong. But when you can back that up with a physical knowledge, a physical means of providing a tactical, technical, you know, strategic outcome, if you like, against a specific, you know, stimulus or stimuli, whatever, right? When you see a motion like that and you say, wait a minute, if you do that, this is what's going to happen. It's pretty plain to most people that these things are just fabricated out of assumptions. They're not proven knowledge. And yes, of course, they're right. They can train any martial art or any movement they like. I used to run around the park in bare feet, as you already know.
Yeah.
I used to throw a stick around, blowing a whistle. That was my martial art when I was 13 years old. Okay?
Yeah.
But I didn't teach it to people.
Okay, yeah. You've said,
and that's
you've said
my
that
point.
Yeah. Absolutely.
I don't teach it to people.
Yeah.
So if people say, they talk about integrity and they talk about, knowledge in martial arts and how we can share it.
Yeah.
Well, show me what you got to share. You've got nothing to share, so stop giving bullshit to people, to gullible people who really believe in you. And if you're going to, show people genuine martial arts, show them something that works. Don't show bullshit on a bloody video, and that other people who have no idea what you're doing will go, he must be great, and because you've built a reputation. Yeah. Then you suddenly drag people into that reputation, and it strengthens your reputation. Yeah. It doesn't strengthen your reputation. It strengthens your pocket, but it doesn't strengthen your reputation.
Yeah, but do you think that people like that will then hide behind words and phrases like integrity and peace and love and wisdom and meditation, and they'll really sort of push this esoteric side of every unity and all the rest of it. Now that's fine, but at the same time, if you're if you're selling something, and quite frankly, we would say it's an inferior product, but that's what we would say. I'm sure the people training it think it's great, but whatever. But when you hide behind words like that, what kind of person is that? Integrity? Playing off people's perceptions of martial arts. Is it? Harking back to bloody David Carradine at the Shaolin Temple. Trying to get that same vibe. I mean, I don't know.
Well, no one's ever going to make martial arts kind of united, because there's too much of this now. People just want martial arts to survive, Yeah. But the very problem we've got right now with traditional martial arts, particularly, obviously, we're talking kung fu, is individuals that profess to teach it, profess to come out with, all sorts of alleged wisdom, and then are caught out because of their stupid ideology about putting out, demo videos and on YouTube that you can actually see straight through. You can see the technical ability of them, and okay, I've got no problem with that if they can talk sense, right? I've got no problem with that at all. Yeah. And I'm doing my best here, right, to protect the people that talk like this. I'm not dissing them. I'm simply saying, I'm giving them my opinion. Okay, now I can't talk to them direct because they don't want to talk direct. Yeah. They just want to come out with, bullshit about integrity. But the problem is, really, I gotta say that, right? They'd rather enjoy the riches provided by misguided enthusiasts, if you like, than learn from the knowledge, I should say, of those who at least can offer a logical, technical argument. They fail to prosper, they fail and prosper from the ignorance of others. Instead, they pretend to promote peace and unity, so their ability will not be questioned, if you like. They just don't want to be questioned. Yeah, they can claim to be victims of bullying, of course, as we've seen, and they politicize, if you like, the bull to further their dubious reputation. Now, I'm not talking about any one individual. I haven't named anyone. All I'm going by is you've told me that someone has written something about integrity, and I don't want to know who they are. I don't care, because there's so many of them out there. But, you know, I'd know if they send them to me. You know, I never want to get involved in, I don't want any bullshit, you know, arguments back. I mean, if people want to argue, they can, and I'll just give them my honest answer. But I'm not going to, you know, take to trolling. I'm not going to write to them. I'm not going to write to any kind of, you know, organisation and call it out. Okay. I'm just simply saying, look, in general, this is the problem martial arts have got. Now, on the good side, there are people that are trying to change that. There are people that are making a difference in martial arts and trying to bring the reputation of Kung Fu. Thanks to people like that, Kung Fu is literally dying on its feet, because all these fighting styles, all the modern kind of self-defense organizations, you know, professing to rebuild or reinvent Kung Fu or reinvent martial arts in general. And then you've got the, you know, martial arts, the MMA, and you've got the whatever, KFC. Whatever. Oh, yeah, the UFC.
Do you remember
and so
those
on.
days?
I know.
Do you remember those
oh
days?
yeah.
Oh.
When you could go down KFC, I know. Yeah, that's health food for you. Anyway, so yeah, you've got all these people, and they are rightly and absolutely correctly looking at Kung Fu and going, it's crap. But the problem is they only see the crap and the people that are calling themselves so-called traditionalists without any kind of fighting ability at all. They cannot. I mean, how many times do you see people who do a martial arts example on a YouTube site and the guy punches them and then leaves his arm there for 5 minutes while the guy does all sorts of stuff to him?
All the time. All the time.
Yeah, all the time.
I thought it was only like 1970s, but no,
it's not real. It's not real. And I've just watched a video of the same guy I was talking about. You know, my student, ex-student. Now apparently he's doing a course. I don't know how much money he's paying for. You know what? It doesn't matter how much money you pay for a course, and it doesn't matter how much money you make from a course. It doesn't make you any good. Okay? I think that ought to be said to people like that, because you're spending this money, and I love watching this stuff on YouTube. Now I just saw this, like, I don't know what it was. I think it was Humpty Dumpty or something attacking him.
No. He was dressed up in one of them massive padded suits. Yeah. You know, like a Cyberman from Doctor Who.
And he still managed to punch. He still managed to punch the guy about 5 times in his face before the guy reacted to try to get him down. Yeah. Okay? And then when he got him down, of course, he loved punching this big foam thing. But of course, this big foam thing was holding the guy down. There's nothing you can do about
That's what people are selling. That's modern. That's selling. Pressure testing of your style, because you know, all this bullshit. We'll pressure test and we'll make it real. I mean, we'll put on a massive foam helmet which is twice the size of my body weight, and you know, when we wrestle. But Jesus Christ, but you know, whatever, you know. But the point is, like, you've always said, right, whenever we've done, like, say, knife defense courses and stuff like that, you won't learn anything unless you know. And that was your sort of that was your opening gambit. You know, it's like you know, and
you
it's
learn
true.
Nothing unless you practice.
So if I've just paid, you know, 500 quid for a course, and you said that's the first thing, that I'd be like, what? I'd be really let down, Steve. I would really be let down.
Well, but people pay for long courses of driving instruction, still fail their test, you know. And basically it's down to how much practice you get in between. And it's the same with martial arts. People go to a class once a week and expect to become a black belt with a great skill of fighting. I'm sorry, it's not going to happen. Get a life. If you want to train martial arts, you've got to get out and you've got to train martial arts. If you want to be a good runner, you don't just go to the track every Sunday and do a race. You actually get out and road run every day, and plus your diet and plus everything else you need to do. It's the same as every other sport or activity. But the trouble with martial arts is people hide behind the nostalgia and
it's like
and all the mysticism and so on. And people have been able to build businesses on mysticism. I mean, Christ, you only have to look at Reiki for that.
Reiki.
I'm a master at Reiki.
No, Reiki.
No, well, whatever. Whatever.
He was the first officer on the USS Enterprise when he Reiki.
I am a master at Reiki or
Reiki,
whatever it is.
Yeah,
and I can apparently heal people without touching them, and so on.
That's brilliant.
I went to a course and I was embarrassed. It's a cult like any of these.
You took the certificate though.
I got it. No, they actually posted me the certificate, and bless them, they posted me a piece of crystal that I left on the shelf because I thought, well, what do I want that for? They give it me, and they said, because with the white robes and all that, and I'm thinking, what the is going on here? And I only went because it said meditation on the advert. Yeah. I wanted to learn a little bit of meditation. I went there. Jesus Christ, it was embarrassing. I don't even want to talk about it. It's embarrassing what they did, but nevertheless, I became a master of Reiki in the weekend, and paid 80 quid for the privilege.
Oh well, there you go. So,
and they were. Don't get me wrong, they were lovely people, but I want to be a tree, and people believe in that, and that's great if you want to believe in that, but don't tell everybody else. The worst thing a religious person can do is try to plug their religion. All you do is make people anti-religious.
Yeah, but aren't we doing the same though? Can't you just make the argument that you're a religious fanatic and plug but in Kung Fu, which people will say, and I acknowledge that.
Yeah, absolutely, and I acknowledge it too. But the difference is, right, is logic and proof. Okay, that's it. So, but like I said before, we are, trying to draw away from this kind of conversation about someone writing letters and their Facebook and all this kind of thing. That's great. Carry on, but don't complain. And people who turn around and say people in glass houses shouldn't throw stones. Not everybody lives in a glass house, my friend. Not everybody comes from a glass house.
Are you like in a fortified bunker, like a
pretty
mile
much
underneath the Earth's crust or something?
Yeah, because at the end of the day, there's no. You can, and most definitely you can question my ability, and you can question my integrity by all means. But first, show me yours.
Well,
it's not me that needs to care.
Yeah, but right, when you've got do me a favour, list your martial art qualifications. Okay, just list them right now. What's your martial art qualifications? Formal qualifications.
Black sash.
Yeah.
My 5th degree.
Yeah.
I took my 5th degree 25 years ago.
Okay. Right. So what else?
And kickboxing, black belt, referee. I don't know. What else have I done? Can you remember?
GY Shoe? Is it GY Shoe?
Yeah, the GY Shoe instructor. Yeah, the self-defense instructor.
But hang on. These are all Lao centric. All right. So your black belt, your black sash was Lau Gar. Your black belt in kickboxing was Lau Gar.
Yeah.
And then you think, okay, so we can pretty much, let's just combine it. You are a 5th degree black sash in Lau Gar, right? That's it.
Yeah.
Now, compared to a lot of other people, when they list their credentials, 8th dan at this, 3rd dan at Jodo, 1st dan at Jiu-Jitsu.
Jodo?
Do you know what? Don't know what Jodo is?
Go on.
It's
a stick, isn't it?
It's a stick. It's that Joe stick. Anyway, but do you see what I mean?
Stick.
Wait
a minute. Hang on. Hold the bloody
fort.
Yeah. So wait a minute. You do. I know this from karate. I understand from karate that karate people will do karate. Okay, whatever style it is, they do karate.
Yeah.
But then when they want to learn a stick, they now do the stick, and that's a separate black belt, is it?
Yes, it's a separate.
And then
black
if they don't want to do something else, that's another separate black belt.
The best one is if they want to learn the sword, they have to do kendo. But in order to draw the sword, they have to do aikido. So you have to be a. No, it's true. It's true.
You have to be a black belt at all those.
Yes.
So basically, you're a black belt karate, right?
Yeah.
and that's it. But you can call yourself a black belt at Aikido, black belt at Kendo, black belt at what's his name?
Jodo.
Jodo. But basically you're a black belt, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then that depends totally on the quality of your karate.
Yeah.
Because everything else just follows from that, doesn't it?
My point was that you look at people with all these credentials, right? And they can control people's perception, right? Because they've got these lists and lists and lists and lists. Someone looks at your credentials.
Yeah, absolutely.
Oh, we don't know nothing.
Yeah.
And it's like,
okay.
Yeah. Do you understand?
I do. I know nothing. but ask me a question, and I'll give you an answer.
Yeah.
But I'll give you an answer that's logical, and you don't have to go, oh yeah, and then go away and think about it. You can go away and actually learn it, and not only that, you can go away and use it. So depending, of course, on how much you train. So the issue is, it's right, and in the time that I developed as well, in the time that I was training, many times, and this is bringing us to. We're going to have a really good guest, and I love him to death. I think he's a really good martial artist. And the point that I'm making is he is now turning the tables on the people that are dissing Kung Fu, but he's doing it solely, from his own perspective. He's going out there and putting himself at risk and training everything to prove how Kung Fu is working against these things. Right. Okay, and so when you have someone like that, you can really respect how much martial arts can be, how good it can be. Okay, but he's not hiding behind his style. Is not, none of us are hiding behind us. Our style is there, okay, for the world to see, and our answers are there for the world to hear if they want to hear them. The problem you've got is when people are coming out with videos, and this is my biggest thing, right? Yeah. They're coming out with videos, and of course, yes, they're saying they're this grade, they're that grade, and the other grade. The problem is the videos show them for who they are. That's the first thing. But the second thing is, when someone goes out and says, I've done this, I've done that, done the other, they've done nothing, because they've never learned the whole of one thing. And if they have, they should be dead by now, because that's how long it would take them to learn one good, genuine style. Okay,
so how do you know you've learnt the whole? And how do
I haven't learned the whole.
I'm not saying you have, but let me put forward, let me play devil's advocate. How do you know you've learnt the whole? How do you know what you do is so good?
Because it works, James, and because I've got students like you that can prove it.
Yeah, well, we've had this conversation before, but I've got to put the question forward because it sounds really sort of, what's the word, conceited? For the uninitiated. And like, people, that I think the biggest problem with people's, the way they perceive you is that you are just pro Kung Fu. No, I don't think you are pro Kung Fu. I think you are pro logic. And martial arts. And
I am pro martial arts.
Regardless of what style, it's got to make sense.
It doesn't matter what style it is. If it's good, I love it. I like to see it. Yeah. And that's something that's been proved to me. And as you know, I have recently asked you if you were happy to train with the guy that I have invited as a guest, because I don't want to be the individual that says, oh yeah, I am the greatest, you have to follow me. The meek will. That's a funny thing. These martial artists who they're going and all about this passion about martial arts and peace in martial arts and all that kind of thing. And they're the kind of people that will turn around and say, the meek shall inherit the earth, if that's okay with you people.
Well, exactly. I'm.
And Jesus says the meek will inherit the earth.
What is a
that's
question?
Okay with you people. I just love it. Sorry, no, not dissing religion at all.
No.
It's up to you.
It's not like you haven't been known to, but Jesus. Yeah, but we won't go there. Right, for now. Let me ask you a question about what do you think, right, drives people to be instructors? What do you think is the underlying reason?
Well,
in general,
it should be. I can tell you what it should be. It should be a passion to teach. Okay, a passion to want people to see what you have learned and what you can understand and what you accept is, bona fide. And this is where the problem is. Everybody thinks that, right? Everybody thinks their style's the greatest. But the trouble is when you're seen to be mistaken, by that time it's too late. You can't change people. They're going to turn around and say, oh no, you're just being a bully, or you're just doing this, or you're just doing that. And it doesn't matter how much technical information you can give them. It doesn't make any difference to them. They'll listen to you all politely. A lot of the time, I've been to martial arts clubs. They're nothing to do with me. I've been to them in Canada as well, and I sit there and watch. They're very nice to let you watch, and they don't realise. They're open and they're friendly and they're just doing their thing, and I got no problem with that. But then my problem is I go to them then and say, well, why did you do that? Why did you do this? And how does that work? And so on. And I have a great discussion with them, and I can prove to them how unrealistic a technique might be, and they'll love it. And you know what? They'll carry on doing it.
Right.
They'll just continue to do the same thing. You know why? Because it's their kingdom. And you know what they say about houses. Man's house is his castle, kind of thing. And that's it. It's a man's dojo is his. He's the master of that dojo, and that's that.
Hey, that's another thing. If you profess to teach kung fu and call what your training area a dojo, alarm bell should be ringing. But anyway.
I'm not talking dojo. I'm talking any. I didn't mention kung fu.
I know.
It's a kwun.
It's a kwun.
It's a kwun, if you like.
It doesn't matter what it's frigging called, does it?
No, it doesn't.
I think once people have attained, once people are happy. They feel safe in their the way they're perceived by other people. They don't want anything to ruffle their feathers. They can't be seen to acknowledge their own ignorance. And I use the word ignorance because if you're not trying to find a reason why why you do something, why it works, etc. And you're just teaching people willy-nilly with no consideration to what you're teaching or no serious thought, then that is ignorance. Because
James,
sorry. Go on.
I was going to say, what's that story about the king's clothes?
Oh well, I perhaps I should know, but I don't. It eludes me right now. Is it
the guy goes and sort of says, this is so invisible thread and it's so good and everything, and of course the king comes out in the king's new clothes and he's naked because he truly believes that he's wearing the best suit because he's been convinced by this
that's great
con
man
that he's wearing the best clothes with the best silk, but it's so fine it's invisible, and so he wears this suit out. When in actual fact, he's naked, and he doesn't realise it until he walks.
He's not even got a pair of jocks.
He ain't got a stitch. No, he hasn't got a stitch on, and he walks out, and of course, to the dismay of his court, who look at him, and of course they daren't laugh, so they just kind of pretend that it's great. He says, "Oh, look at my new clothes," and of course they're all going, "Oh yeah." Bit like Donald Trump's lot, really, isn't it?
For Christ's sake, stop! Don't go on about politics. No, I won't have it.
Sorry. No. Okay. So but basically that's simply a story told about ignorance and about how you can be completely and utterly, the wool pulled over your eyes, as they say, and a lot of the time that's the problem with martial arts.
Well,
and they will take it on board, and they will, oh yeah, that's fantastic style. Oh, look what he can do. He can do this kick and that. Oh, he can do the splits. Look at him. And then I want to do that. I want to do that. And I can't exactly be as good as him, but I'm going to do things like him, and I'm going to be his student. And of course, it just, they live in their own little as you say, a little house that is, can be
Well,
blown over.
I said it before on the podcast, but I always like, there's not much I like about Bruce Lee, but but when he quoted in the sanctity of the unknown under such a veil, men honor you as masters, that really resonates with me, because but my thing is, I've never had to say to you, prove it. You've willingly told me the problem with everything you've ever taught me. You've suggested a reason why, and suggested a reason why it doesn't work. You've told me the weakness in the argument. You've told me the strength in the argument. So you've said before about, like, you don't wear sort of, armor that, shields you. You want the chinks in it. You want people to question you, to prove you wrong. That's your thing. Because you're not right.
Need to be because you need to be. What is science, James? Look at the difference between, and I don't mean to diss religion. I'm not dissing religion. I'm talking about religion. I'm using the two as an example. Look at the difference between religion and science. Religion insists that it knows the answers. Science says prove it.
Yeah.
That's the difference, right? So when religious people talk about, okay, well, science is just a theory, they don't understand the term theory. They don't realise that theory means the best assumption of logic and an argument and facts that we can best find. Like, it's the theory of gravity. Now, we could come up with another idea eventually, but until then, prove it. You come up with it, and we'll change the whole concept of gravity. If you can disprove gravity, or if you can disprove that the Earth is round, or if you can disprove that the solar system goes round the sun, or whatever, prove it, and you'll win the Nobel Prize, and you'll be the best, the most famous and the richest person on Earth, right? If you can prove it. So don't preach faith, just state facts. And all I'm doing is stating the facts that I understand to be true by the logical application of each scientific principle. And that's it. Now, you can prove some of those wrong, because I'm not the brightest thing, the thickest tree on the plot. But honestly, if you want to, I'll listen, because I really do want to know. And I have great conversations with people on Messenger, different martial arts people, good martial arts people, and we disagree about things, and we make the point, and I just simply say, that doesn't make sense. This is what the reason for that, and they will understand that. And if I can't prove it, they can prove to me, oh, right, okay, yeah, I can see that. That's how that would work. That's the best way, because that's what keeps science, that's what keeps martial arts alive. Now, you start taking that out and just say, this works for me, throw that away, I'm sorry, it's not going to happen.
Another question for you. Do you, based on that, do you believe in style segregation, or should sort of everybody really want to train together? What do you think?
I think if the problem is everybody wants to be the boss.
Yeah, right.
Everybody wants to be the master, and it's nothing to do with martial arts. It's to do with human nature. Okay, so one way you want to keep people separate, and it doesn't matter if you've got like 10 top instructors and there's just one master, and then in another organization you've got another 10 top instructors and a single master. All those top instructors could want to train together, right? They might want to share ideas and so on, but you know what? How are you going to do that with two masters?
Right.
Two masters. So they're going to turn around and they're going to say, you're better than him, you're better than him. They're going to separate you all, so you can't comply together, so you can't conspire to become, united with the other master. Okay? So they say, they separate you by making you all masters. That's how they do it. And that's human nature. It's as simple as that. So that's how people work martial arts too. They make themselves masters.
Taekwondo,
and then
I'm saying nothing.
They make themselves masters, and then they raise people. They give people black belts, and they give people qualifications. Have I ever given you a black belt, James?
No, no, no. You have not given me a black belt.
No,
damn
because
it.
When you're ready to, and you know what? You don't want one. And you know why you don't want one? You want to prove that you earn it. And of course, I already know you've proven many times that you can earn it and that you could have one at any point in time you wanted. But at some point, you just never worried about it. And that just gives people the idea, the understanding that it isn't about getting a bloody black belt. And that's why I haven't took a grade for 25 years. What do I want to pay a load of money to do my own set for? Make my own setup?
But you acknowledge there is a place for gradings.
Of course there's a place for gradings because you have to have a curriculum whereby up to a certain point you have to judge people for what they are training and what kind of quality they're training to, and those grades are of value, a great value. Okay?
Understood.
But there is a point when you no longer value certificates and you no longer value belts, and you start valuing what you've done to earn them. Okay, and that is the important thing. But on the whole, of course, everyone deserves recognition, and that belt around their waist, that is one way that they get recognition. And that doesn't matter whether they can fight, it doesn't matter whether they understand, they've just got to comply to a standard that is required for that particularly that stone in the wall, if you like.
Yeah.
You know,
absolutely.
And once they've done that, they can then eventually develop, and of course go up the grades, and then but finally eventually there's not going to be, you get to a point where you no longer need to recognize those grades, if you like, higher grades. And so, because the problem you've got is, of course, people go, take this grade, take that grade. Oh Christ, I've got to start something else now. I've got to invent something else so that I can, make them take another grade. Invent something else, make them take another grade. So you've got, first, second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth, 10th, 15th degree. What are you learning by the time you're 15th degree? What are you learning?
Well, then the way the Taekwondo do it, because I love Taekwondo. The way they do it is you'll go up to 6th, 7th, 8th dan, and then they'll decide, oh, I tell you what, he's now a master. We'll make him a grandmaster, and then they'll they'll do another series of gradings, and certificates based on you being a grandmaster now. It's incredible.
Yeah.
It's really
it's not just Taekwondo, to be fair. It's a lot of people develop there.
I will rip.
You just like using the name that way.
I do. Taekwondo. Yeah. Anyway, forgive me, but I will acknowledge there are some very good Taekwondo fighters, extremely good and capable fighters.
Yeah.
But I have yet to see a good Taekwondo technician. Now, I'm sure at one point in the history of that style, there was good technicians, but I'm sorry, I have yet to see a good technician. Not a fighter, technician.
Well, I meet a lot of people in Kung Fu styles that they come out with these big photographs of old Chinese gentlemen on their wall and say, this is master such and such a thing, and we learn all this from him. And then he comes over occasionally and does courses, and then you watch what they're doing and you think, what the have you been shown? And it isn't necessarily that master was poor. It doesn't necessarily mean that. It just means that they're not getting taught. Okay, and the problem then is, of course, they start making it up, and of course the guy back in China is going to say, right, I can't keep going over there. I'm going to make you the head, and you're going to do this, and you're going to control that. And of course, then this guy starts getting power hungry. And people around him who are jealous, who didn't get chosen, they get power hungry. Guess what happens then? The style splits, and then you've got the master is devoted, by he's respected by so many different split groups, but they all claim him to be their master. But of course, by the time that happens, he's probably long gone, And you know, but everyone say, oh yeah, but he was our master. Look, and this is what our style's called. And they claim styles, and they change the names of the styles occasionally, but they keep the same, you know, lineage, if you want, which no one can prove most of the time, unless you know really get down to it. And it's so hard to prove. All that is in the proof of the pudding, as they say, is in the eating. So all you got to do is put a video on YouTube, and people can see how good you are. Don't profess to be good unless you have the answers to, you know, the questions that people will ask. Okay, and that's that. So, you know, and if you haven't got the answers, then you're learning from someone.
Yeah.
But if you don't want to learn from someone and you have to stay in that, you know, cocoon, don't complain when people say, you know, that doesn't look right. Don't complain about it. What's the point in complaining about it? You know, you got your little cocoon, enjoy it. You're making your money, enjoy it. Okay, are you worried that your reputation will be harmed? No one's harming your reputation, only yourself.
Yeah.
You are harming, you know, you're harming your own reputation by not being capable of the things you profess to be capable of. Yeah. You're not being capable of teaching the logic in the techniques you're trying to show other people, and telling them they're logical when they're not logical, or they're not of any technical value. So stop complaining about other people who want to protect the students, who want to save the martial arts from people that do that, when you're one of them. Because if you're one of them, you're in another camp. Just enjoy your money while you can, but what goes around comes around. And eventually people will find out what you are, and it'll go, and it'll change. But you know what? The worst thing is, people will follow you when you disappear, when you're off the face of the earth. They follow the same stupid idea, and they make fools of themselves too, and they get questioned too. And it always will happen, and there never will be any unity ever.
No.
What I'd like to see is unity of one style for once.
Yeah, right. I'm with you. Absolutely. For once, which is what we're about. Now, we can go on and on and on, but I fear we have some technical stuff that people would love.
You think someone's going to listen to our technical stuff after all that crap?
Yeah, of course they are. Of course they are. You know, they're. Listen, we gotta move on. Now that was very good. So, excellent. So again, we switched off bitch mode, disengaged, and
okay, bitch mode, disengaged.
Right, now we're going to talk about in a bit kick blocks 1 and 2, right? But before we do that, I just like a very bit of a conversation, bit of a conflab about the use of elbows and knees in martial arts, because this is a good one, because I can't tell you the amount of people who've come to a class, right, and we're punching pads or whatever, and they say, "Oh, do you do elbows?" I said, "Yeah, we do elbows." "Do you do knees?" "Yeah." I say, "Well, can we do them?" I said, "Well, can you punch?" "Well, yeah, I can punch," and they can't punch. So like, but their mind is like elbows, knees, elbows, knees. Why do you think people are like that? So can we talk about elbows and knees and the people's perception of them in relation to using the techniques, and you know, what we should be looking for when we do them? And you know, go for it. What do you reckon?
Yeah, well, knees are fairly heavy and hefty, but slow. So consequently, when people throw a knee, go on.
I've watched Long Back, and let's face it, you know, he's not slow. He comes from the other village, and he lands a knee on someone's nose. It's great.
from about 20 feet away, yeah. And you beg to differ. Why the hell didn't he just kick? Did have got there earlier. So yeah, we see films like that, and of course people, they love it. But I mean, elbows are very useful if you can get in close, or if you find yourself in close. And the simple reason is they can protect you at the same time as striking. Not only that, there's very little that you're going to break, so they're far more, in effect, at close range, they're safer to use than a fist, because you're going to just break your knuckle. I mean, the amount of boxers maybe have fights outside of the ring without their hands all strapped up, end up with broken fingers, is just phenomenal. Okay, and that's if they get into a scuffle outside.
It's not just boxers; it's anybody on a Saturday night.
Anybody,
emergency.
Yeah. No, but I'm talking about people who are genuinely used to punching,
right? Okay.
And they throw out powerful punches.
Yeah.
But as soon as you take that protection off your hands, you're going to have a problem.
Yeah.
And so, of course, in a normal situation where you've not trained or fisted to that degree, you're safer using open hands. You're safer using, even fingers to a degree, depending on the target. But you're most definitely safe using elbows. When it comes to the knees, you can throw the knees sideways into a thigh, like a dead leg, and you can bring the knee up. But it's much easier and more powerful if you're actually bringing the head down or the body down, or back in fact down to that knee.
What you see a lot of people you see them doing these sort of these forward knee strikes. Okay, so they're effectively as if they're kicking a target in front of them, but they're pushing their knee out. Now, correct me if I'm wrong here, but I would suggest the only way you can really generate a bit of power in a forward knee strike would be to move your entire body weight with that knee. Yeah, to
jump it in.
To jump it in. Now, if you look at if you look at an upward knee strike, because your hips, your leg can travel up. So when you raise your knee up, as if
that's
you are
more
pushing,
that's more anatomically sound.
It's more anatomically sound. That's what I wanted to get at.
Yeah, so basically if you're bringing the body down to it as well, that will increase the amount of energy you can provide to the target. So a good example, because you know how many people say, do you do knees? You're right. People go around in Kung Fu going, Kung Fu doesn't do knees, Kung Fu don't do elbows. And then all you got to look at is even the most basic hand blocks and kick blocks. Look at number 10 kick block. Well, how does it end? A knee to the back, a knee to the spine, and most people, they try to push out the knee towards the target, so they're holding the guy's shoulders and then they push the knee out towards the person, the target, which is the base of his spine. And the way I teach it, and because people will always write in and go, why the hell do you teach it like that? Okay, you've got the guy round, you've got your hands on his shoulders, what the hell are you doing with them? Pull him over the knee. When you pull him over the knee backwards, A, he's arched backwards, so he can't really fight back. B, the knee is coming directly up towards the spine, and the spine is going directly down towards the knee. So it's going to be incredibly more powerful than if you was trying to push your knee out towards him. And what the hell are you holding his shoulders for if you're not going to use them?
Giving him a massage, come on.
Yes, you massage him while you're trying to put your knee in the back, so like a...
But
that's basically how we do a knee in number 10.
But look, I mean, as I'm sure you were going to mention, but in Lau Gar Look Up Kun, there is
elbows.
There's elbows. There's also
scope for there's elbows.
But in Lau Gar Look Up Kun, there's also scope to make a knee technique, so to speak, before the three palms and then the. Going forward. But a lot of people can do it you can do it as a kick or a knee. I sort of, depending on what mood.
Because your knee, you can bring your knee up to break the arm if you've got the arm. When you're pressing the arm down. And then you just bring the knee up. And of course, your leg doesn't have to be folded at the knee. It just has to be the knee that contacts the elbow or above the elbow. Just because it doesn't look like a knee. The kick is too far out, so it's going to miss the target anyway. And you can't reach it with your hand if you are kicking with your foot, because the position you're in wouldn't be long enough. So it's logical to assume that you're bringing that hand down, pressing down the other person's hand, who may be holding you or not, and bringing the elbow up to bear against the elbow, the knee, up to the elbow. And consequently, it's going to break or damage the joint of the elbow. And so things like that, they're very useful, but they're within the syllabus, and people don't train them, right? Because they get their pads on, they start fighting. You can't do elbows and knees in that kind of fighting. They don't practice throws, they don't practice takedowns, they don't practice sweeps.
I think it's from there's a good. I remember doing it at the summer course with John Russell. A while back, and I think he took a section out of Buck King Kong. I said King Kong. Sorry, back King Kong.
I call it bunking Kong.
Yeah, you do. That's where I get it from. But there's a sequence in that where I think you're stepping forward, you're doing an elbow, and then you're doing a backward and a round elbow and stuff like that, which I always thought was quite good on the summer course. But essentially, in what we tend to say with elbows is there's really sort of only 5 ways you can do an elbow, and it's hard to explain it on a podcast, but we've done a video on YouTube. But
you're talking about directions.
Yeah,
but
directions.
Uses.
Now, yes, but we can, we have to be careful how we say things, right? Because we can say there's only, how many different punches can you do? You can do a straight punch, you could do a circular punch, you can do but is an uppercut a circular punch but from a different angle? What about an overhand? Is that a circular punch but from a different angle? So we've got varying different angles of things. So if we're talking about directions, so we say there's 5 directions we can apply.
Well, they say also there's 5 ways of escape, or 5 directions of moving, and that's forwards, backwards, sideways one way, sideways the other. Or ducking down.
But there's also
jumping up
two
doesn't
more.
come into it.
Yeah, no, but you can argue the 2 jumping up and ducking down. So that's 7 directions.
The fifth one is standing still, James.
Yeah, I know that. Yeah, I know that.
But the jumping up and down doesn't come into it, because it's kind of dicey. But of course, people can do it. Yeah, people can do it. But when we say there are 5 directions, we don't take into it. It's like there's a north.
No,
there's north, east, south, and west.
Shipping forecast now.
Northwest. No. I'm simply saying. Most people see the compass as north, east, south, west. What they don't see is all the other parts of that compass.
Yeah.
So
and they don't see the blustering
northwest
gale
by
from
north,
the Shetlands,
and so on.
Sorry.
Yeah.
But,
and then you got north, northeast, and all that kind of thing, all the way down. I'm not saying them in order, of course, because frankly I've forgotten them. But if I sat there and thought about it, I would discover them north by northwest.
No, that's a film with Cary Grant.
Yeah. So eventually you get to northeast, and then you go down, and so on and so.
But what was the point again? Why are we talking?
Because there are lots of directions. There are alternate to the actual just 4 moves: north, east, south, and west.
Yes.
Because when people talk, when you see people doing sets on a video, and they're going, right, I'm turning to the west to do this. I'm turning to the north to do that. What about the others? The bits that you change slight angle. Because there's always going to be slight angles.
Oh no. You have to be specific in certain styles. Taekwondo.
Well, it's the same situation you use in a clock, isn't it? There are 12, but then you can say, oh, it's 7 minutes past, or something like that.
Yeah.
So it's just a way of describing things.
I'm on multiple time zones when I do a set. So.
Yeah.
No, I'm kidding.
So we talked about elbows, and we talked about knees, and the benefits of them are, strategically ideal in very close combat. They're not particularly any use beyond very close combat, obviously simply because of their height, their length.
What about in relation to being the defensive use of a knee or an elbow in terms of
absolutely.
If someone's at long range, right, they throw a kick at you, you're out of their elbow range, but their foot is being brought to you. You can just elbow the top of it, or their shin. That's right.
You can elbow the top of it, or of course, if you're close enough, they throw a kick. Your, knee can go sideways outwards towards the inside of their kick. Yeah. So it makes it. It's quite popular with kickboxing, particularly where there are knees involved. It's a quite popular kick. We did that with the kickboxing organisation I was with. As well, and we obviously did it in Lau Gar.
No, it's just it's interesting that people's perception of elbows and knees is that they're a lot more devastating, right? And I think that's purely based on like the noise they make when they hit pads, etc. Because how do you define
if people can generate power? Define punches being devastating, because punches are also devastating, but they're only devastating if they're thrown properly and if they impact properly with the a decent amount of energy. Otherwise, a punch is a punch, and it really doesn't make any difference. And so many elbows you know, it can be completely useless because people completely misinterpret the range.
Yeah.
You know, they can be nullified very quickly.
Mm-hmm.
So it is a shame that people love the idea of doing knees and things, but don't understand how to do them.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, you know, there's thousands of techniques out there, but everybody claims, you know, that they know how to do them, and you know, it is about practice. We talked about not being able to utilize these. So when I was teaching younger, you know, most of the floors tended to be hardwood or concrete.
Yeah.
I had a forte of sweeping. I could never teach sweeping very much because I demonstrated the sweep and then people would just be falling all over the place.
Yeah.
No head guards, all this kind of thing. So it was very dangerous to do, and so the only time you could do it is if you had a place with mats, and then of course you had to take into account you were hiring a hall, you had to get your own mats. Nowadays, of course, people get their full-time gyms. Majority of people get full-time, well, a lot of people get full-time gyms. Certainly in the Americas, that's all they do.
Oh yeah,
it's very
there's some lovely,
few.
there's some beautiful full-time gyms where you are.
Yeah, absolutely, and we just shame there ain't no bloody talent. I mean, some of them are brilliant, don't get me wrong, but of course some of them just show off the gym and make the sale. It's the same as any gym with weights and stuff, isn't it?
Yeah, oh, yeah.
They show you around, they show you the saunas, they show you the, you know, the swimming pool. I mean, if you walk around a gym and it's got a heated swimming pool, you're hooked, and that's it.
Hell yeah!
And especially if it makes good coffee.
Hey, do you remember when we used to do the Malvern class with Bruce on a Friday night, and we used to go to the sauna and the steam room afterwards? That was great.
Yeah, absolutely.
That was the end of the week treat, wasn't it? Eh?
Yeah, it was.
Anyway, right, we can talk about, and in another podcast, I do want to actually expand on that point about. Does the environment in which we train limit us? Which is what you're saying about teaching sweeps.
Yeah.
If you've got mats, if you haven't, if you've got facilities, whatnot. But if we can we save that for another podcast?
Yeah, we can. But all I can say is that I'm hoping when we with our first guest, we are going to really, you know, he is going to show how things are now changing. You know, it's late in my time, but it's still time for him. And honestly, you know, the things that people just neglect because of the environment, it's phenomenal on how many things get neglected. And of course, that's why a lot of styles end up doing barely anything. And that's why a lot of Kung Fu people end up doing just kickboxing, because they can't maintain their syllabus, they can't maintain their Kung Fu style, they end up doing kickboxing. But here we have a guy who has done everything he can to change it.
Yet. We don't know.
We
haven't been confirmed.
Yeah, I've confirmed it,
Oh,
James.
all right.
I've already confirmed it.
All right. Anyway,
so, yeah.
Right. Thank you for that. Thank you.
Okay.
I'm doing my hostly duties
thank
now.
you for telling you that we've confirmed a guest.
Yeah, thanks. Thanks for letting me know.
Well, when he comes on, we'll do an introduction for him, okay? But, you know, things might happen before then. He may not be capable, but I know that he is willing to come on, and he's
awesome.
So happy. And I also know what he's going to be talking about, and I can guarantee to you that he's got, you know, all the qualifications to, you know, talk about it. And you know, I think it's going to make the, you know, instead of us just bitching, it's going to
bring a bit of class to the proceedings.
It's going to bring a bit of class in there. Yeah.
All right. Listen, I want to just press on. I want to talk very quickly, and then we'll wrap up. I want to talk about kick blocks 1 and 2, and I just want you to sort of explain why we do them, and you know. So for all you Lau Gar people listening, you know, this one's for you. If you're not Lau Gar, you know, stay tuned, because I'm sure we'll sort of explain some principles, you know, relative to what we're doing with them. So Steve, can you just go ahead and explain to us what we're doing in kick blocks 1 and 2? You know, why are they? Okay. Why are they the first and the second kick blocks? What are we?
Well, there's I don't think any have been chosen to be sort of in any particular order, but they are the most basic principles. Guy's going to do a front kick with his right leg. You're going to move out of line, okay? So rather than just step back, you're literally moving to the side, out of line. You can't take your foot any further than your front foot, so you're taking your right foot back and you're sitting in a horse stance. Why do we sit in a horse stance? Because we're trying to consolidate a position of strength so that we can throw out the cover or the attack, the counter. Now, everyone sees the block with the hand, with the palm, as simply a block, a knock away of the leg.
Yeah.
It isn't. What it is in your first form, you are going to do a second palm, which is with what's called a big fish, which is the thumb area. Okay, and you're going to strike it. Imagine that you are banging an apple or an orange off your bicep and straightening your arm to knock that orange into the sky. You know, the type of thing. So that is how you are performing that palm. And basically you're moving out of the way, you're consolidating your position, you're throwing the palm. Now, where are you throwing the palm? Throwing the palm to the thigh. Okay, so you're striking the thigh. Why do we strike the thigh? The reason we strike the thigh: A, it's the first thing to move. B, it's the slowest thing to move. And C, it's prior to the kick starting. So the quicker you attack, the quicker you can finish the fight. So basically, as the guy lifts his leg as he's kicking, the thigh is the first thing that moves that you see straight away. Try catching a foot. It's too fast. Okay, we're not trying to catch the foot. We're simply striking at the calf. Once we're struck at that calf.
Oh, hang on. We're not striking at the calf. You're striking above the.
Sorry, at the thigh. Yeah. I always use funny words. Useless words, don't I? Yeah. I did say thigh at the beginning. Yeah.
You said thigh.
I did.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I would.
Then I started talking about calves.
I would have called you.
Okay, yes. So we are striking at the thigh, of course, because it's the first thing to move. Just to reiterate, the thigh is the first thing to move. So we're striking at that with our palm. Then, as the leg goes down to the floor, because ouch, we're going to think about, or he might want to step. You want to put it down. He's going to move. You've knocked it anyway. You're going to then throw your kick. When you throw your kick, you're using your shin to kick the top of exactly the same thigh.
Right.
Okay, so you're hitting at the side of one of the quadriceps and you're hitting the front quadriceps. And when you do that, your toes will naturally poke into his groin. So in effect, you've actually kicked him, or struck him, should I say, 3 times in your defense as an attack. So there is no defense there. It's simply a countermeasure. The guy kicks you, you strike the leg that's kicking, you then attack the leg that's kicking.
Okay, so a couple of points that I just want to clear up. That's with number 1. That's great. Now, as before with the hand blocks, we suggested that the attack is the most important thing. Now, absolutely learn to do a front kick. You've got a target in front of somebody. Equally, the defense, you can argue is just as important, right? The movement, okay? Because a lot of people, it is about taking your body off the line, right? Now, a question: why would we go into a horse stance in a fighting, skit, in a fighting, scenario?
Why would we practice a horse stance at all if we couldn't?
Well,
see, the point is that we are at the side. So we're not really considering the fact that we are going to get kicked in the groin now, because the guy is doing a front kick and it's now passing us. The other kick he's standing on, so it's not going to be very easy for him to do that. Our groin will be covered or open at any point in time, no matter what stance we're on. So it's a consolidation of a good position to be able to throw enough energy with that palm strike to actually make it viable. If you can't take your foot behind, okay, making it, it's first of all, it's gone too far, and it wouldn't have made any difference. He'd have still kicked the front leg. So you can't take the back leg further than, the same level as the other one. That's what makes it a horse stance. So when you sink into that horse stance, you've blocked the kick. He's landed. Now, as he's landed that foot from the first strike, if you are simply turning your feet, you're now already in a fighting stance. From the horse stance, twisting, you're already in a fighting stance, and so be able to deliver the shin and the kick to the groin with the toes. Okay. Now, people will argue that project or that concept of of how I've described that kick because they can't do it. Now, the main reason they won't be able to do it is they're standing too far away.
Well, I was just going to say range. Now,
exactly.
You've suggested it's a shin kick, but the reason it's a shin kick is because of the
you're
range.
So close.
Yeah.
Yep.
Now
you're so close, and you can adjust yourself. Remember, you've already struck him once.
Yeah.
There's absolutely no reason why you can't. You don't. Once you've done that strike in that horse stance, there's no reason why you can't now move a leg, adjust yourself to throw the kick. But he's already in your court. He's already close to you, so you can now kick him. But you see, you won't be able to strike that thigh if you're standing too far away. So if you try to, you're standing too far away. What happens is you bring your head forward, and that becomes a target. You never ever put your head forward. You always keep your body straight.
Yeah.
Okay. So the stance, your feet and hips and legs will make the position. Your body should always be, pretty much with the exception of one or two moves, should be straight up to maintain your balance and posture. So when you're striking from there, you're keeping yourself at a decent range, but at the same time you're able to attack him or counter-attack him.
Can we suggest that when we say horse stance, right, can we use it in a loose interpretation? Meaning, could we say it's a high horse stance? Because we don't.
We can if we're not going to practice hard enough.
Right. Well, okay, yeah, but you know. Do you know what I mean? Like if we're looking at small, like the smaller the movement, the faster the fight, bum, like that. I absolutely see where you're coming from. But remember, this is one of the first kick blocks we do, and so we're trying to teach beginners to train hard. Sure.
Now, if we say at that point in time it's a high horse, they'll never get to do the horse, and they'll always wonder why. But it's a good application of the practice that they will do with a basic walk and punch, or a basic horse running stance and punch, I should say, where they are actually sitting in the horse stance and throwing punches out. They'll always think, why am I sitting in this position? And it's just simply as a training regimen. But when it comes to actually applying that horse stance, they've got a place there they can apply it. And it isn't necessary that they have to always maintain that, because obviously as they build up speed, as you rightly say, the legs won't be so bent, and the range won't be so far away, and the movements won't be so large. They'll all be much smaller. So yes, then as we learn to do it at speed, fine, but let's get the basics in.
Sure.
The more you train those basics, the better you're going to be.
Sure. Can I also ask you then? You've said we strike the thigh. Now, we strike the thigh. But if you strike, more on the knee than the thigh, that's still valid and viable, right?
Knee's made of bone. It's going to hurt you just as much.
I understand that, but how close do we have to?
Just above the knee. It's great. Just above the knee. It's a great place to hit. And also, if you cannot throw the palm properly, you haven't got the energy to throw the palm properly, a really nice slap is good.
Yeah, right.
Because that stings.
Yeah.
Right. But of course, it's very difficult to practice that in the classroom. So you've got to repeat the action, and you've got to feel that movement. Yeah. Okay. So. You can, of course, always practice palm strikes against pads and so on, as we've already recognised.
It's worth saying that if you're doing this strike to the thigh, once you've turned your body to the side, etc., a lot of people, if they don't train this palm, they're gonna bend their fingers back, which is a bit of a, a common mistake. They'll brush with the fingers as opposed to strike with the palm.
Yeah, as I described, it's called the large fish or the big fish, and that's basically the palm area below your thumb.
Right.
So you're literally hitting with the just at the end of your thumb.
So what's the little fish?
Got that large
then?
mash. Little fish is the side edge of your underneath the little finger.
And why do they call it big fish, little fish? Well,
the little fish is your little finger is wiggling around, and that's his tail. Yeah. And the rest of that end of that hand is called a little fish, because the big fish, which is the thumb, and when you look at the thumb and the palm around it, the muscle around the bottom of the thumb, it forms like a yin sign, and a yang sign with the other thumb. And when you put them together, they form the yin and yang emblem. Okay, the sign of the yin and yang, and so that's why they're called the big fish. The big fish, for that reason. That one. Right. The little fish is just simply because it's related to the big fish.
I just wanted you to explain that. I love it. Can we acknowledge then, obviously, that the palm strike in number 1 hand block that is the 9th move in the first set. If you're counting the moves, set. Okay. Now, when we look at the genesis of that move in the first set, we actually do start with our fingers pointed down, don't we?
That's right. Yeah.
And
that's why your fingers. That's why it's good for blocking the limbs, because your fingers don't have to come into it.
Right.
And that's why you can't be pushing anything with your fingers. Right. You'll just bend your fingers back. So it's the fingers are in the way. Chop your fingers off, and you'll still be able to do kung fu. The only thing you won't be able to do is grabs and finger strikes.
Yeah, and finger strikes. Then is there a point, just sidetracking onto that palm strike in the first set, is there a point in which that palm strike becomes a useless technique? What I'm getting at is, if you raise it a certain height relative to the start of it.
If it remains upside down, yes, but you see everything rotates. So as you're doing a palm strike, you're doing as a palm, yes. But if in the event you're just simply bringing the hand up upside down, it will eventually rotate until it becomes like a willow palm.
Right.
Okay, so it's like a circle. But that's a completely different situation then. It's the same kind of technique, but it evolves into a different technique. The palm itself, the fingers are remaining down.
Right.
There's another palm in the technique after the fukusao, after the hooking, or the if you want to call it the harvest hand, whereby you do the harvest hand, you're loading the wrist, and then you're palming, and that's with the small fish or the little fish, with the edge, that leading edge of the palm. So that's a totally different kind of palm.
Sure. I just wanted to make the distinction for people looking for it in the set and say that's it. But okay, right. Any other points you want to make? Any mistakes people do?
The biggest mistake of that one is range, and the other thing is when you first start to train, get your partner to stand there and just lightly do the kick by stamping against his stomach and pushing him backwards. Okay, lightly. I emphasize that lightly. You're just pushing him backwards. If you want to train it, get him to hold a shield and kick him, fine, but you're stamping into his body. Now, of course, you may choose to kick with the ball of your foot, or you may choose to kick to the groin with your toes pointing down. All of them still follow the same direction. They still are the same kick. The only problem is you can't practice actually pushing against the target if you're doing a groin kick, because he's not going to be happy. So the stamp is the much easiest one to gain your distance, and also get to see that you're kicking straight, get to see that you're not going to fall over when you kick him, and so on. And so that gives you the range, and then once you've got that range, he knows where you're kicking, he knows what's going to happen. You are kicking him directly to the center, then start moving. Then you can try different kicks. Once he starts responding to that knee lift, as soon as you go to kick, your knee is naturally going to move first. As soon as he sees that knee, he's responding by attacking your leg, your thigh with his palm. If he's too far away, and that is the biggest problem, he's always going to either hurt his fingers, or he's going to lean his head forward, or he's going to end up trying to block something that isn't there, because the kick from the knee downwards to a foot moves far more in a kind of swinging state than the knee does. So it's the knee, or rather above the knee, the thigh, that is the target, not the foot.
Well, think of
most people make that mistake.
Yeah, think of it as like a pair of nunchucks, isn't it? Like the shin and the foot are after.
They're going to be a lot more powerful.
They're going to be a lot more powerful than the
and fast.
Yeah.
See, and they're going to be late as well. They're going to. If you haven't reacted by the time he's lifted his knee, he is going to kick you.
Yeah.
You can't move fast enough.
So, just a point that I think applies more to sort of, senior grades, etc., is, be very careful what you're doing with your hands and your cover when you're doing this one, because you see a lot of people are focusing solely on just doing the action, doing the block, doing the kick. They're not giving much thought as to what their hands are doing. And like we always say, if you're doing something with your legs, focus on your hands. If you're doing something with your hands, focus on what you're doing with your legs. I don't know. But anyway, let's move on, shall we? If that's all right with you.
Yeah.
Let's go on to number two. And
he's doing a round kick.
Yeah.
Or a turning kick, as we call it. Karate might call it a round kick. And so it's coming around the side. Remember, it travels in exactly the same direction for us as a front kick, because we're not going to turn it around, because it's so easy to press down at that point. It's so easy to telegraph, and it's also much weaker. So we're literally throwing the knee up, exactly the same as the front kick. At the last second, we're going to twist on the foot that we're standing on, and that will divert the kick in range around rather than up. Okay, that's as simple as that. So it's a very fast turning kick. Doesn't have to be going, sideways. It just has to be going upwards against, the target. Because remember, it doesn't have to be a high kick. As people try to make them high kicks, and then they're much slower. Okay, so the guy's going to lift his thigh in exactly the same way. Guess what you're going to do this time? You're going to step back and you're going to strike it again, but this time with the outer edge, with the little fish of your palm. And so you're rotating, and this would be the first movement of the first set.
Right.
You're rotating your palm, pressing, striking down.
Right, and then you'll finish him with. Sorry, continue.
You're going to kick him straight in the.
Straight in the knackers, in the Jacobs. Couple of points. I've got a question for you on that. You said step back. Now
I like to say consolidate.
Yeah, right. So I'm going to say this. Do you mean consolidate? But because as we want to close the gap, right?
Yeah.
So we want to move forward with the strike.
Well, we aren't moving at all. The strike is staying where it is. All that's happening. We're going back to that argument again, aren't we?
Yeah, sorry.
Because basically the attacker is coming forward. We don't need to go backwards. All we need to do is be in a strong position to strike. If we're not in a strong position when we strike, that strike will not be strong. So as he's coming around, all we're doing is consolidating the stance, striking the hand down against the knee, and again it's about range. These are very close range techniques. When the guy's trying to give you a good kick in, he's going to be quite close. He's not going to be at a long range. If he's at a long range, you'll see it coming for miles. We don't want you to see it coming. We want you to learn how to defend against a very close proximity kick, and we want you to react immediately to the movement of his thigh and not wait for the whole strength of his leg to develop, because you are wasting your time and you are going to get hurt a lot more.
We're intercepting before it's had a chance to
mature. As he moves, hit him.
No,
that's it.
Yeah. Let me ask you a question about this then. So we've said we're consolidating and we're striking down. Would you accept, to a certain degree, within kick block number 2, your head has to kind of drop forward as you do that strike slightly? Do you understand what I mean?
As who does what strike?
The defender's head, as you strike down on that leg, right?
Yeah.
The defender's head does have to get a bit closer this time. So you're almost
that
giving
depends
them your head.
No,
I'm not saying you're giving them your head, but
I know what you're saying, but I'm going to disagree with you.
Right.
And the reason I'm going to disagree with you is because we are trying to maintain posture. If we can't reach that kick, the kick's not reaching us. So it's not going to come high enough. It might be a low kick. There's a completely different technique for that. But if the guy is bringing his leg up and you see the knee coming up, you'll immediately respond to the knee by consolidating your stance. Now, you can consolidate your stance by taking your legs, bending your legs more rather than bending your head forward. Okay, so your arms are easily going to reach beyond your your groin, right? They're going to sort of be mid down your thigh.
Yeah.
If they're mid down your thigh when they're straight,
Yeah.
then they'll be mid down his thigh. Okay,
Yeah.
pretty much.
Okay.
So no, it should reach. If it doesn't reach, get closer.
Right. Okay. Yeah. No, just a point. I just wanted to suggest that out there because I see a
people ask
lot
that
of
question.
people. Yeah, I see a lot of people when they do it, they're really leaning forward with their head. Now we've, anyway.
Yeah, because they're lazy with their legs.
Right. I think, to be honest, the kick to the groin, etc. I tell you what. What is? No, we'll talk about that on another when we start doing the more advanced kick blocks. Are you happy with that? Is there anything else you'd like to say about number 2? Because really, it's pretty.
It's a very simple movement. Keep your guard up, and ensure that you're going to follow it up. Because remember, you're kicking him in the groin. You can't. Nobody practices takedowns and stuff like that. And I have to say, I really wish in my time that I would have loved to have, made that kind of important, because when people are falling down, we want to help them down to the floor, but we don't want them to fall down of their own accord. We want to make sure they land on the head so they don't get up. We want to make sure that they injure their arms so they don't get up, or their elbow, or their shin, or their ankles or whatever. Okay. And often when we talk about self-defense, we were talking earlier about how people stand there when they throw a punch and then they stand waiting for the guy to do loads of stuff. There's got to be some theatrical license, because you can't actually hurt someone to make the move. Some do, of course, because they're usually not their own students. They're usually people brought students to the course, and they get injured for them. Thank you very much. When you hit someone with a knuckle, you demonstrate it, show them how it would hurt, and maybe even tap them to show how it, and they go, oh yeah, I can feel that. And then other people literally throw the technique in saying, I'm going to hit him here. And the idiot stands for it.
Yeah.
Right, so he picks on morons who, I shouldn't say morons, that's not fair.
Victims.
They're victims, who are prepared to sort of blow that guy's trumpet. Please, if a guy's going to hurt you, get hurt of your own accord, not from his.
Yeah, but we're talking about specific techniques now that really will hurt. If you're talking about training takedowns, etc., of course you're going to have to throw people, get thrown on the floor, etc. Takedowns
don't necessarily hurt. What they do is end the fight. It makes it more difficult for the person. Now, of course, then there's a matter of conjecture there, because of course the guy's going to get up again. Now you can stop him getting up. Now, depending on how good you are, or how intent you are, or what kind of situation it is, once you've gone him down, you can run. Okay, or you can kick him when he's down, or you can choose to practice locks and holds.
Why have you brought this up after talking about number 2? Were you going to make the suggestion that you can, if you want, add to the end of the hand blocks, kick blocks?
No, not just the hand blocks and kick blocks, but everything you do. I really, I have been talking recently to our guest.
Well, he's not a guest yet.
all right. You keep saying that, but
we've got a reputation,
I know. We've got a really bad reputation. You may not want to come on after this. But the issue is, let's just forget the fact that he's going to be a guest. Let's just forget it. Let's just turn around and talk about martial arts as they are today. My friend, my new guest, he is going to describe how his journey has taken him to a situation where he has employed his kung fu continuously through the years he's been training to develop more about follow-ups after the event. So say you're doing sticky hands, you want to get people down. Often with me, I sweep them, they fall down, we start again, we carry on. Never really think about the continuation of the fight, because you haven't got the environment to do it in. He's had the environment to train in for many years. He's got his own gym at his house and so on, and he is able to practice with individuals, but he's also gone to various organizations and trained with them as well, and has bettered them. because of his ability to do sticky hands with Lau. He's able to feel the movement as the other person attempts to take him down. So we talked previously in other podcasts about, you know, MMA and how they like to sit on people's faces and so on. And of course, we both agree, both myself and my friend, that if you're out in the street, nobody goes around to parties on their own. So if you're going to try jumping on someone and holding them down in a lock, just expect their friends to come and defend them. Just expect their friends to come and kick you in the face while you're doing it, because it's not going to be easy to do it with more than one person. So that is why I don't particularly promote locking and lying down and all the kind of jiu-jitsu type of movements. However, I've always promoted leg locks, you know, pushing your legs behind the other person's leg, pressing them down with your knee, taking them on the outside, sweeping, and you know, throwing from that position, and so on. And in the self-defense, we do, you know, throws down, twisting the head round and bringing them down to the ground and so on. But we never follow it from there. Now this guy, he's followed it from there, and he's made a damn good job of it, and he's created his a curriculum which is in conjunction with Lau principles absolutely work, and I am going to promote that like nobody's business.
Well, that's great. Well, we can talk about that when he comes on, and I am really excited about that. I just wanted to make the point, and I genuinely am. I'm not cutting you off, but I just think let's talk about it when he comes. Now,
of course,
what I was, you sort of you went into this from, we were talking about that, the kick blocks. Now, a lot of people will always say, yeah, but I can do this after the kick block. I can do that after the hand block. I can do this. Now, at what point, if we start thinking like that, obviously it's a great mental exercise. It's a great sort of theoretical thing. Not theory. If you can do it right, we can look at options. But at the end of the day, it's syllabus. Like, you know, how far do you want to go with it? You know,
well,
do you see what I mean? Like,
it's
a bad thing. I'm not saying it's a bad thing.
The thing is, syllabus is a vehicle. We have to keep repeating that. It's a vehicle. So how far do you drive your vehicle? It's totally dependent on you. I mean, we have always, you know, people who train in the syllabus, you know, by rote, will always perform the syllabus to a degree where, okay, that's all is shown in the syllabus. But what about the rest of the techniques in addition to that in other parts of the syllabus, which can then be employed, which they should be employed to continue the fight to its end conclusion? If you stop halfway through, then the other person is able to recover and then continue and retaliate with a far more dangerous perception of you. So this is the point. The thing is, people don't. Okay, they don't, because half the time they haven't got the facilities, half the time they haven't got the time. So they are doing the syllabus to what is required at that time, and after that, you know, then they start to apply. But only some do. Yeah,
spot on there. I want to sort of say as well that a lot of people, I mean, we're talking about the basic syllabus, right? That's what we're talking about. If you're going to do the basic syllabus, get it right, train it, understand it. Don't seek then, I've done it, I can do it, now I'll have this, blah, 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 blah. Don't start running before you can walk. You know, get it right first. Focus on the syllabus. It's there for a reason. We've discussed this.
That's right.
And then, once you can do it, add to it.
But right, this is the thing. People have always kind of looked at me and said, well, you know, you don't do these big sets, so you can't know all the syllabus. No, the syllabus was always there. Syllabus has been added to. Okay. Now, when people start making up their own sets, which is one of the things I was totally against, because when you watch people make up the sets, guess what they do? They use Lau Gar techniques. Well, of course, but the Lau Gar techniques are already in sets. Do you need another direction for them? Do you need to take them in a different... Why don't you just take them and use them individually in the self-defense situation, as opposed to trying to apply them in another longer set? So the more you practice that longer set, the less you practice the shorter sets, and the less you practice the shorter sets, the less you practice the individual movements. And so you end up having a lot of stuff to look at, you know, window shopping. You just don't, you can't use the techniques. So it's really important that you make those strategies very short. Now I always get this where people will turn around to me and say, oh, you know, yeah, but Steve, you know, you don't do that set, you know, you've forgotten the 5 animal set, or you don't do the 5 animal set. So, and I go, okay, you show me that set and I'll tell you what them is for, but then I'll also tell you where it is in the syllabus. Okay? So, you know, yeah, there's always going to be like the odds and sods that are not in part of the syllabus, but they're not going to be relevant.
Yeah, but I remember you saying, and I thought it was a really good analogy. You said, we don't have to keep writing the recipe down. You just have to cook.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's it. So that's all people do, isn't it? Yeah, all people do is keep on writing the recipe. Oh, you know, keep on. Oh, well, now if I had this, had that, and the other, but they can't actually get onto the oven. They can't literally. They can't cook. They can't make it work. Yeah. And it never tastes good when they do manage it, because they're too busy trying to swap things and change things, and they're unsure about how that bit goes and how much of it goes in. So this is the biggest problem with martial arts, and we talk about this so often, where people do these huge sets in demonstrations. There is a place for them in demonstrations, but please don't turn around and then tell me you can do it in reality, because you're spending too much time practicing these. And then of course you get other people, you know, on the other side of the coin, when they're showing techniques that don't actually work, and then they're trying to do them as sets, and they just look diabolical. So, you know, there's martial arts is a free and open world, and everybody is free to do what they want. But remember, you have a responsibility to pass on real knowledge. You don't have the right, just because you think you can, to teach people bull that you know doesn't work, that you can't prove work anyway, and that will never work for them in a month of Sundays. So just face up to it. You do it yourself, like the people, like, you know, the people who do the big wushu sets. They enjoy doing what they do. They get out and they do it as demonstrations. Let's see you do demonstrations with the stuff that you are professing to teach. And let's see how good it is, because it probably wouldn't even look pretty, and it most definitely wouldn't work. So stop kidding everybody else, and then you'll stop kidding yourself.
Right. Well, on that note, I think you've used bullshit more times than Master Ken, you know. Stop the groin stuff. Guys, we'll book out. We'll go. We've got to go. We've droned on a lot, but you've had it all today, people, haven't you? You've had a bit of bitching, a bit of technical knowledge, eh? It's you get your money's worth with the Kung Fu podcast. Please check out your instructors. Please look on YouTube, and if you have any sense, just be wary. That's all when you're going, taking a load of questions. And the other thing is, we're always here if people want to know whether someone's has any capability. Now, I'm not going to diss anybody, but I'll simply send back, if you send me a piece of video footage with someone doing a technique, I'll critique it. By all means, I'll critique. You send one of me as well and I'll critique it. But it's really important, honestly, that you oh Jesus, absolutely. Well,
look out for yourself in martial arts. Good luck with you guys.
Absolutely. It's all about you guys. Okay, guys, if you enjoyed that, and we hope you did. We hope you got something from it. Please do us a favour. Go on Podbean, subscribe to our podcast. Go on our Facebook page, give us a like. Go on YouTube, subscribe to us. All that good stuff, you know, write a review, whatever, say about, oh, love the podcast, or they're absolute idiots, we hate the podcast, whatever, we don't care, but please just do us that favour. That would be brilliant. And, you know, guys, this thing only carries on because, you know, we've got a base of listeners now, and, you know, we do genuinely love talking about Kung Fu, and we hope that you kind of enjoy the irrelevant chat.
Yeah, and someone's got to say what we say, right? Someone's got to say it. Everybody is so, you know, PC, and you can't talk about people. No. We're not mentioning any names. We don't intend to disrespect people, but you know, unless they disrespect themselves, okay, and a lot of the time that's really the case.
Absolutely.
So
absolutely.
please,
Well, you know, we exist for a bit of controversy, a bit of bitching.
and we're always first to apologise.
Of course.
Wherever we go,
Yeah.
wherever we go twice, because we always have to go back to apologise.
Guys, thanks ever so much for joining us for another episode of the Kung Fu Podcast with me, James Still, and my teacher, Mr. Steve Newby. Okay, take care, guys.
Have a great
All the
one.
best. Have a
Bye.
good one. Bye-bye.
Concentrate on your enemy's weak points. The eyes, the throat, the knackers.
Hi guys, thanks so much for joining us on the Kung Fu Podcast. If you like that and you want to find out more about us, you can head over to Facebook, Twitter, Instagram or YouTube and find us under SJN Martial Arts. And also guys, this podcast is available on Podbean and iTunes. So, until next time, take care of yourselves and we'll see you again on the Kung Fu Podcast.
Karate punch is like an iron bar, whack. A Kung Fu punch is like an iron chain with an iron ball attached to the end and it go whang.